In my opinion, 2024 is the best year for Flesh and Blood ever. A lot of great sets this year came out, including heavy hitters, which is probably my least favorite. But I like them all, and I wanted to go over what I think were some of the best and worst cards of 2024. This is going to be a top 5 list for both, but first I have a dishonorable mention for Will of Arcana. I really hate that we're still printing playable fables in the year of our Lord 2024. I wish they would just cut it out. It's not even that I don't think this card is interesting from a design perspective. I think it's actually really interesting from a design perspective. The fact that, you're putting a non-attack in your Kano deck and you get high value when you pitch it is interesting, but the fact that this is a fable and we're still printing, 1 in 50 rare cards that are playable in CC Hero, I just really dislike and wish they would stop doing it. And moving on to the top 5, my 5th least favorite card of 2024 is Traverse the Universe. I think this card is actually pretty interesting from a design perspective. It clearly delineates Mistveil decks and non-Mistveil decks. And I think that's a good thing. Classes should have something that makes them who they are. But this card's just way too pushed. It's probably the strongest card in the game. And, block 2 draw card is just way too good when it's for free. So, yeah, I wish this card wasn't as strong, because then maybe we could play with Zen Enigma for longer. And we wouldn't have to, have them gone in a year. But, it is what it is, I guess. My 4th least favorite card in 2024 is Succumb to Temptation. And this card represents a style of card that LSS is printing nowadays, where you get to look at your opponent's hand and choose a card and then they discard it. I think this card is very pushed, but I'm actually okay with the power level. In Viscerai, it's just kind of an interesting card that sometimes is very good, but I just hate that your opponent gets to see your whole hand, and then if your hand is kind of bricky, they get to just entirely brick it by taking your 1 blue. I just really, really dislike this card. And it feels like this card exists to try and fight against Art of War, but that card doesn't exist anymore, so I really hope that we don't print more of these. We'll see. I mean, I'm sure Hunted is going to have something like this, but I don't know what. And speaking of that card design, Siren's Call is my 3rd least favorite card of 2024. And this card is kind of like Succumb to Temptation, but it's even more swingy, right? It doesn't give you an action point, but the fact that you look at your opponent's hand and then choose a blue, which is the card you basically always want to choose anyways, and then you draw a card is insane. In the fact that, you can put it defending, and so that it banishes if it's, blocking a stealth card. It's just crazy. Like, when this card hits, it's insane, and when it doesn't, it's the worst card you've ever seen, which is obviously just not a fun design. And then the fact that this can entirely brick your opponent's turn, like, you take their only blue and they just straight up lose 12 value, is just the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. So I just hate this card with all of my heart. I wish it didn't exist. And this card, is the reason why I hate New. If this card didn't exist, I think New would be an interesting deck. But this card existing actually makes so many matchups just unplayable. You just can't play a long game with New if you have blues in your deck ever, because they will see 3 Siren's Call and you will not be able to play around it. So I hate this card. I wish it didn't exist. My 2nd least favorite card of 2024 is Cerebellum Processor, and I hate this card for what it represents. It represents like a clear power creep that exists in the Armory decks. This card was printed in an Armory deck and is clearly too strong. You can tell just on reading the card at first glance that it's way too good. It very clearly should only have 1 Steam counter. It probably shouldn't be a blue. And then it gets printed and it breaks Dash.io, and Dash.io is by far the best deck in the format. And then it gets High Octane banned, which is an interesting card for multiple decks, whereas Cerebellum Processor is only interesting in Dash.io. I actually do like the play pattern of this card, but it's so powerful. You can play it off the top of your deck, remove the Steam counter, and then draw a card. It's basically a literal extra card off the top of your deck. Is just so broken. It's a blue for no reason. I hate this card. I wish this got banned instead of High Octane. Obviously they couldn't, but I wish they could have. I just hate this card. And then my least favorite card of 2024 is Count Your Blessings. This card is just too good. It obviously wasn't tested. It shouldn't have been a generic. This is a 2 for 6 go again. And the downside is that you have to put more 2 for 6 go agains in your deck. And it's life gain, which is stronger than attacking. Like, this card is just insanely good. It's way too good. I wish it didn't exist, and it homogenizes deck building to the point where it's just stupid. The fact that, like, now you can play 3 CNC, 3 Warmongers, 3 Weakest Link, 3 Erase Face, 9 Count Your Blessings, 3 Sigil Solace in your deck. I think it just breaks the game. I'm glad that they banned the blues. I wish this card was banned altogether. Like, I think this card literally just breaks the fundamental rules of Flesh and Blood, that, classes should be different, and that you should have interesting deck building decisions. This just fills up way too many slots in your deck. Moving to my favorite cards of 2024. Well, this is the honorable mention, the Kasai Command and Conquer, because I won one. Fifth most favorite card of 2024 was Fast and Furious. This card is sick. It's a 0 for 4 go again sometimes. That on reactions you can make a 0 for 4 go again sometimes. So there's a little counterplay between you and opponent that's always clear on the stack. And then you get to play a mini game of, ooh, I boost this, and do I want to keep my Boom Grenade around for longer? Or maybe this supports some sort of combo that you're building with, some of the more esoteric items. This card is just so cool in so many different ways, and this card really brings the Deshayo Armory deck from probably my least favorite product of the year to somewhere in the middle. My fourth most favorite card of Flesh and Blood in 2024 is Malefic Incantation. At first rating, this card is Read the Runes with Go Again, which is good. Obviously, it's good. This card has so much more play to it than that. Its interactions with Mordred Tide over multiple turns is cool. The fact that it triggers your Swarming Gloom Veils over multiple turns is cool. You get to save up value over multiple turns without just having to, spew it all at once. I really like this card. I really like the future of design for this card. I hope other classes get cards that are similar to this, like maybe a warrior one that gives go again multiple turns in a row, or +1 multiple turns in a row would be really cool. And I'm excited for what this card is bringing to the rest of Flesh and Blood. My third most favorite card of Flesh and Blood in 2024 is Take It on the Chin. This card is just such a good role player. It blocks for 2 and then makes an agility token. I always say that in Dawnblade Dory, this card actually blocks for 5 because it means you get to block with your Gogan enabler. This card is so sweet. And I like the new designs they have where you get to block 2 at instant speed and then make something. Viserai and Vincent get the card that blocks 2 and makes a rune chant, or blocks 4. This card's a little less versatile, but I still really like Take It on the Chin for what it brings to the warrior class in general. My second favorite card of 2024 is Cosmic Awakening. When MST dropped, I thought this card was just so strong, and I had it in a lot of my MST decks. Obviously, when Art of War exists, it's hard to play this card, but as Art of War got banned and Bonds got banned, Cosmic Awakening really just came into the limelight. This card is a great win condition against Fatigue, and I don't like Fatigue as a playstyle. It really creates a delineation between Mistveil decks and non-Mistveil decks, and I really like the design of the quest that you're going on to try and pitch stack your chi next to the Cosmic Awakening and try to transcend over many turns to be able to, deal 20 damage over 4 cards. And my favorite card of 2024 is Gone in a Flash. I think Rosetta probably had the best designs overall for cards in 2024, and Gone in a Flash is really the pinnacle of Rosetta design. It's a card that requires you to go on a deck building quest. You have to put instants in your deck, which suck. You get such a huge benefit if you can give Gone in a Flash go again and play instants. But it's also just a great role player. It's a lightning card that blocks for 3 and attacks for 4 and costs 0. It takes embodiments very well, but it also allows you to get embodiments in Aurora. And obviously in Acilio, it just is the driver of the whole deck. But you actually can build less and less around Gone in a Flash in Acilio when you are required to play a little more defensive. This card is just so cool, and I hope this is the design for Flesh and Blood going forward.